I know it's been about 3 weeks, and you know, I know the sound quality is going to be rubbish on this video because for some reason my computer has just decided to change all the settings and do pretty much what it wants. It's probably got a virus, but you know what? Excuse me. Yeah, it's the same with everybody else's things at the moment. It just seems to be breaking down, and it's just no good, is it? You know, if you stick around in this and listen to this video, you might cotton onto something I've been trying to say for quite a while. It's definitely got some merit in it. You know, this will definitely have some implications on your lives, I guarantee it. So, you know, it's up to you. If you want to listen, that's fine. You know, I know some people get fed up after a few minutes of hearing me talk and then they move on. If only they just, you know, put up with the pain for a little bit longer and listened, there might be something there for them. You know, not only have I got to apologise for the sound quality, you know, I have a cold. You know, it's the first cold I've had in about 2 years now. But if you're going to sit next to somebody on an airplane for 3.5 hours who's got a thorough cold and snivelling constantly, then I dare say, you know, after you get off that plane, you know, a couple of days later, you're going to notice some symptoms of some sorts, and you're going to know where you got it from. So, you know, I apologise for that as well. I'm going to be blunt, guys, in this video. I want to try and draw your attention to something. You know, it's like we're all kids in a playground. You know, we've all got something that is drawing our attention away from everything else in life. But there's something going down at this very moment in time. It's not just the pole shift. Something's got it in for us. And, you know, with our attitudes, our modern day attitudes, we're not doing ourselves any favours. And, you know, I'm going to come straight out right here and tell you guys that, you know, I want to mention something to you that was written thousands and thousands of years ago in a book some of you know as the Bible. And despite all what is on the internet right now, I just want to say something to you. This book has lasted the test of time. It's the only book of its kind. And yes, there are different versions of it, you know, to suit other religions. Pretty much, it's saying the same things over and over again. And, you know, one of my problems is I notice very quickly patterns. I think it's just something, you know, that by accident, you know, I just pick up on, you know, I just notice patterns very quickly. And, you know, I mean, I've read pretty much all that book, and I think I understand it a little bit better than what other people that claim to be experts on that book read it and how they interpret it, because I get a different perspective of it. I suppose it's just because of my life experience that's enabled me to have that perspective, but that's what I want to share with you, because I consider myself to have had some extraordinary experiences in life, and I don't think many people out there have had the same experiences as me, and therefore I probably look at this in a different way. So I'm going to try and explain something to you guys so that you can possibly pick up on what I know. If you do, then you're going to understand a lot about what's going on right now. Now, I said it's not just the pole shift. Yeah, that is just, you know, going to happen no matter what. We're seeing the changes. You know, this Earth has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. That's not a long time when you consider how old this planet is. You have to excuse the CPU fan kicking in there, but okay. So where would be the best place for me to then try and explain to you something? Like I said, I read the book a lot. I mean, I'm just thinking off the top of my head here, guys. So, you know, as I always do, none of this is scripted. but there's something important I want to share with you, and I want you to take that on board. Do what you want with it. Some of you guys have probably already left by now because you're impatient. You just want me to spill the beans, and you want to then get on with your next video or whatever you've got to do with your time. Well, that's fine, because those guys that have already left probably going to miss out on something really big. So I won't go into too much detail, right? But the book that I'm talking about, the Bible, has got some pretty shocking things when you consider how old the book is. It's got some very high-tech subjects in it. So, you start to ask the questions then, okay, how did these people know such things? I mean, they don't spell things out. They don't say, look, we're talking about thermal states of matter, such as, okay, they don't talk about fluid dynamics. Yeah, they say in their words how they describe fluid dynamics, but that is exactly what they're talking about. What I'm saying is there is science in the book that they shouldn't have had knowledge of at the time that that book was written. Now, I have looked into the subject of some of these Indians, very ancient things that have been passed on throughout generation, and they say we're approaching the fifth time. And I think what they mean by that is we have been at a technological advancement, probably even more than what we are right now, 4 other times. And we do it to ourselves every time. We put ourselves back into the dark ages, and it takes a period of time to recover again. And I think that these people that are probably on top of the game didn't get on top of the game by mistake. I think that they had access to some information which enabled them to know what was going to come. When they knew what was going to come, they could just predict, how they was going to slot themselves into these high positions of where they don't really live like the rest of us. They live a lot better and wealthier lifestyles. In fact, they don't work. And, if they understand that we are the workers, most of us, and it's through them getting hold of certain knowledge, I believe, that has enabled them, or their families, their aristocrat families, these rich families that pass it on through the genes, or their offspring, they also pass on this knowledge. But the point is, that book has a lot of science that shouldn't have been there, and it's obvious that they was at a certain level of technological advancement. They also knew what the end game was going to be, because this has happened before. So this is going to happen again, no matter what. And what I'm talking about is it's the general attitude of people, and it's the setting of precedents. And this is mentioned in the Bible, because when a certain amount of this gets to a certain point, then that it is inevitable what's going to happen next. It's like a ball rolling down a hill, and the cliff edge is at the bottom. We're watching the ball come from the top of the hill to the bottom. We know it's going to go over the edge. We know this thing isn't going to stop because of its sheer momentum. And it doesn't take a rocket scientist, if you're observing something, to know it's going to go off the edge. What I'm talking about is what has been described in the Bible, certain behaviour at a certain time being rife, and after that behaviour there was significant events, such as let's just look at a few of them. Sodom and Gomorrah was definitely one of them, where the city was destroyed by fire. Then there was Noah's floods, and if you just take the time out to look at why was the earth flooded, why was Sodom and Gomorrah destroyed, and then go into Revelations and find that chapter that talks about why what is predicted will happen in Revelations will happen, you're going to find there's a pattern. It's down to behaviours of people. And it's the big thing here. I know what some of you are thinking. This is a pole shift news channel, really? Well, what the hell's this got to do with it? I'm trying to tell you guys is that you are part of nature, and therefore you can influence nature just through being part of it. You can't exclude yourselves. You know, this reality that we're living is like unknown to any other species on this planet. We're the only ones doing it. And, you know, we're the only ones that destroy ourselves in the manner that we do. You don't see other species wiping each other out like we do. I mean, yeah, we're on top of the food chain, but we're also, you know, the public number one, or okay, the species number one enemy of all species on this planet. We, you know, no holes are barred. We destroy everything, and it's in our nature to do that. Unfortunately, we never evolve, it seems, to be logical thinkers, because it is so easy to be corrupt in order to get what you want. You justify, you know yourselves, you've done it. I'm no saint, I've done it, and I always say I've got a crack in my vessel. But you know what? There's a lot of people out there that won't even admit to having a crack in their vessel, will they? It's not until you admit you've got a crack in your vessel, you're not perfect, that you actually want to do something about it. Or even just knowing that you're not perfect is a good starting point. You know, to possibly even take that first step on the ladder to becoming a logical person, or a logical, intelligent species. The thing is that these people can't help themselves. Humans can't help themselves. They get themselves into these positions. Perhaps they start off genuinely wanting to, you know, create a better society. They put themselves in the position, but once they're in the position, they realise that it is so easy for them to take care of their own needs as opposed to looking after everybody else's. Let's face it, how do? It? They lock the conscious away. They set the conscious aside and they go for what they want. And then they leave. And they hope perhaps that one day someone will make that right decision and do the right thing. And it never happens, does it? And it's because it never happens is that we can see this ball rolling down the hill. We know where it's going. It's going off the cliff at the bottom. And it's set already. It's too late. What's happening right now is almost like musical chairs. You know, people, unbeknownst to themselves, right, when it comes down to the music stopping and there's, you know, more chairs being whipped away, are not going to be able to sit down, and therefore they're going to be out of the game. And let me try and understand. Let me try and explain what I'm trying to say here is that the technological advancement has made it a world which doesn't require so much human labour. But you need a job in order to obtain money to take part in this monetary system. So if there's a surplus of jobs, it means they can pay lower wages. There's an abundance of labour. So even if you've got degrees and whatever else, you know, they can pay you less. Simply because there is somebody out there that has got a chain round the neck or a mortgage, and they have to go and take that work in order to keep that property. They might have even got 3 years left on it, and that's the worst part about a mortgage, having just that last little bit. Because all you keep saying is to yourself is, look, I'll take a break from work after this 25-year mortgage is finished, or 30-year mortgage. You know, I'll just take a break. You know, I'll take a year or two out, and I'll just do what I want. You know, my time has been taken up with this for way too long. I want to live a little. But, like I said, it's too late. People don't give two damns anymore about even the neighbour losing their job and not even securing a low-paid job in order to keep the mortgage. You know, you see the furniture truck pull up and their goods are going on there and they're never seen again. And it's because we're all, you know, turning a blind eye to all these things that, you know, we are going to find ourselves going back to the Dark Ages. I look on a lot of websites on YouTube and I can see that people are talking about the Third World War, but I don't think they quite understand what the Third World War is going to be about. Third World War isn't going to be about nations against nations. It's going to just simply be you against your neighbour, you against every other person in your community, eventually. And it will be the ones that haven't got nothing that will take, regardless of what you've got, for themselves. That's the end game, really. It isn't, a mushroom cloud in the sky, like a lot of people think. The end game is when you've lost everything, you lose it. When there is nothing else to take, you have nothing else to lose, so you lose it. And that is a reality not too far away for a lot of people. You're even starting to hear, it's like, the water has reached simmering. You hear the stories in the news. Guy goes crazy. Woman does this to her family or whatever. It's starting. We're there. The pole shift, I believe, will just be the thing that just wraps it up in the end. But we'll do the majority of the job ourselves before probably this pole shift takes place. It's becoming a world I hardly recognise, I tell you. With the childish antics of people that are supposed to be world leaders that can't even lead. We all know what they're up to. They're waxing themselves rich. That's all they're in there for, these positions now. Don't kid yourselves. I'm not blaming any other country, because there's no other country worse than probably this country, the United Kingdom, for corruption. In fact, there was a recent survey done, and it said, we are the worst country in the world for corruption. And, well, look what we have been turning a blind eye to. Look what our government's been turning a blind eye to. First of all, it removed the Glass-Steagall Act that that kept these bankers in line, these market traders. So once that was gone, they was pretty much allowed to do what they wanted. Then we got banks such as HSBC laundering known drug dealers' money through the UK banking system into other countries. Yeah, and nobody will go to jail over it. It is becoming insane. These people are above all laws. They get away with it. At the end of the day, these people are mass murderers as well. These are the ones that say, look, we need to cause a war in another country in order so that we can... who audits the military hardware? And what member of public is going to say you've wasted our money? Or justify or prove how many bombs you actually dropped in that country? So that we know when you come to us with this bill, we can replenish what you've used in that scenario, or that theatre, as you call it, the play. It's just chaos, guys, isn't it? I've been thinking for the last 3 weeks really what to say, and I just haven't been able to say anything. I wasn't even planning on doing this video. I just had a few thoughts, and I thought, what, maybe you should just keep trying, to open people's eyes to what's going on, and try and get them to see that this isn't the first time, it isn't the second time, and it certainly isn't going to be the last time, because if we don't get a grip of ourselves, we're never going to change. The problem is there's just too fewer people amongst us all that are enough to make a difference, and it's already too late. Because, what, that book had other things as well. It had stuff like morals, It taught people how to behave. I was saying only the other day, if you could simplify the thousands of laws we've got, If you asked, this supreme being, this entity, to help you simplify the mess the legal system is in right now, and just keep it nice and simple, so that we could all just get on and have a reasonable, good life, you know what? He would probably present you with the Ten Commandments. You wouldn't need another law, because I think that covers it all. There you go. That's simplifying something for you. Can't think of a better word. Okay, efficiency. It's more efficient law system. If you just govern yourselves with that, that wouldn't have been a bad thing. It's way too late now in any case, because even the law system is corrupt. The problem is that the judge is, after all, a human being. And how much we enjoy our jobs, he enjoys his just as much. And it's coming close to dinner time, and he's starting to shuffle in his chair. Do you think he's really bothered about making sure that his job is carried out where all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed? No. I've seen them myself. I know they're just no better than us. In fact, they have no place in law at all, if you ask me. These people should not be judging pancake competitions. It's ridiculous. I wake up and I go out there every day just like you guys, and I see it a mile off. That this is a done system. It's limping along, and it's helping very few people. And it's only going to get worse from this point on. And that's really what I'm saying to you. You prepare for that. It's not so much as getting your gear ready, like your bug out bag and your food supply and this, that, and the other. It's mentally preparing yourself for what you are about to witness. These generations of people have looked after themselves, and, through doing so, brought in systems that are going to affect their children, and left them with very little. And that is really not logically a good thing, because you want to make sure that your offspring thrive and have something for the future. And the majority of people have done quite the opposite. They've passed on the bills to these kids. They've told them that their bills will be forever. They'll have to work for nothing forever. It's become a slave system, and no one's even noticed. That's because it has come about, really, for a lot of us, very slowly. What can you do? You can't change it now. Is this coming from a person, right, that has brought to the majority of people on YouTube? I don't think there's another channel like it that's discussed the pole shift news more than what I have. The topic of the Earth going through a magnetic reversal for the first time in 780,000 years. It's a unique subject. It's really happening. And, on top of that, I'm talking about other issues such as this. The doomed outlook for humanity. And I'm just saying, it's going to get worse, because people just cannot see what the problems are they are creating and expecting others to live with. The thing is that majority of people that are turning the blind eye about what's happening to all these other people right now. I just can't believe the amount of people that are on the streets right now. And whilst I was in this other country, it was more evident that it was incredible. The elderly people that were the ones in the bins, they were all in there. These people were pensioners in the bins. It was just shocking to see. This is just how we treat people in our society, really. These are probably some of the people that have worked all their lives, given everything they've got, and here's what we've left them. A dustbin in the street. What have we done wrong? Where, as the quest for being a logical thinker gone? Why didn't we teach that in school? Why, when you mention philosophy to some people, why do they say that they're, oh God, boring? Please, stop it. And why, when you mention the Bible, it's the same attitude, shown. Bible basher. Gosh, just go away. Yeah. You know what? The problem is, if more people had been talking about the Bible and more people had been paying attention to some of the morals in there, we would not be in this situation right now. So it was really a choice of a minority that we have what we have right now. And you've got to understand, it's barely over, almost over for us all. Life cannot continue like this. When you've got 7 billion people on this planet, and you are, racing forward for technological advancement, you're going to reduce the jobs by even more. You're going to make the jobs a surplus even more. There's not going to be a labour-intensive industry anywhere, because there are people sitting here, right? I mean, me and a few friends have said it already. You give us a task of, mechanising anything, and we'll do it. You don't need people even working in McDonald's. I bet you that, me even saying this, I bet you someone says in the comment section they've already got it. You pull up at a drive-thru, you pay your money, out comes the goods made by a machine. Well, it doesn't. It's not hard to do. You time. Let's just say, I mean, I'm not going to go there. It would be so easy, wouldn't it? Burger cooks for 2 minutes on one side, 2 minutes on the other side, or however long it needs to be done just perfectly right. And, you've got some actuation run by a program that, temperature checks it through, it's cooked, it's flipped, it's moved along, some salads put on it, it's put on a bun, it's then picked up, put in a packaging, and then it's on a conveyor out to where you collect, along with your coffee and your fries and whatever. We could, if we was on about this, we could itemise absolutely every aspect of life if we wanted to. And that would mean there'd be no labour whatsoever. So nobody would get their hands on money. So everybody loses at that point, don't they? Well, that's where we're going, isn't it? You don't want to. You don't want to give up your monetary system. These people don't want to give up the monetary system because they've got the money. They're kings in their own castles. They want to keep that. And that's why things will never change on this planet. That's why we will enter a 5th period. And we will, by then, when we've become technologically advanced in that period, we'll be looking back thinking, how did they build this? This was supposed to have been done with a copper chisel, was it? Or a brass chisel, was it? How did they curve that stone so perfect? This looks like it was cut with a machine. A water jet. Like we cut stone and masonry now and steel. Or a water laser or some sort like that. And we can't even give those people that were in Egypt the same credit for that. Must we think that they were primitive when they built this structure that still stands today, and that some of the other things that was built by other civilizations, must we say that they were built with bronze tools? Please, the thing is, what I say to people is, look, your computer and your iPhone wouldn't last 100 years out in the elements before it was turned almost back into its dust form. Your cars wouldn't be around in 200-300 years if they was just left where they were right now outside in the elements. And these buildings would crumble back into dust just through the deterioration of the elements on this planet. There would be no trace of any technological advancement whatsoever. And the fact is that we ain't even interested in trying to, put something up to show this next generation that we was even technologically advanced ourselves. So they'll be guessing, just like we was guessing, and they won't see the end coming, just like a lot of people didn't see the end coming. Not everybody, but a lot of people. And maybe that book that's been in circulation for the last 3,000 years may even be in circulation for those to see. And it'll be the same mistakes as what we've made, perhaps, that they'll make. And, it will go on until people start to think a little bit more logically. Yes, I can better myself, but if I do that, a lot of people won't benefit. So perhaps if I have a little, like, I'm paid to have, and I don't do these things that gives me the extra, perhaps then, we might steer off in a different direction. But as for it happening now, it's way too late. There's just too many people who are prepared to set the conscious aside because they've been brainwashed, they've been slow boiled, and a lot of people don't even realise where they are right now. As for the pole shift, they're not even interested in that. They want to believe what they're being told by these organisations that have been told to tell you exactly this, what is going on. But here is one of the rarest events on this planet where humans, are going to be around to take, to be here and watch what exactly happens. Now, I've said it before, I don't hold my breath here. I don't think it's going to end up too good for us in any case. Something has slowed down in the core of our Earth, much more slower than it ever has done. It seems to be a trend. It's getting slower and slower at going through its reversals. The periods, as I've showed you on those charts, are getting longer and longer. So, we could even be ending up looking like Mars. No atmosphere, stripped away through sputtering, no water on the surface. And at a time where we can't work together on this planet doesn't really reassure me that there's going to be much going on if that does happen. What I'm saying is, there are a few places that have been built for human continuity. But the problem is they're going in these places with the wrong mindset. They're not going in there to change the ways and improve things for human continuity, if ever something should, change for the better after this event's happened. They're going to come out just as broken as what they went in. It is. Anyhow, guys, I've probably went on a little bit too long anyhow, so, I just wanted to say, open your eyes a little bit to what's going on. Pay a bit more attention to, what has been said. Just give yourself a bit of time. Most of you people read books. Have you ever picked up that book and read it? I know it's not the easiest book to read, but you know what? Test your life's experiences against that book. See if you pick up on a few things that shouldn't be in that book. Because I could just talk all day long about them. The ones that I've picked up on. It's like, people talk about the bride descending, and that's mentioned in Revelations. Doesn't that sound to you like perhaps a spaceship of some sorts? Have you ever read what Ezekiel said he saw descend from the heavens? There's more to that book meets the eye. And there's no coincidence it stood its test of time for this long. And that for those people that think that it's just a coincidence that the moon is where it is, and it just gives us a perfect eclipse, just right, is all just a coincidence. The Goldilocks zone that we benefit from, being the right distance away from the sun, again, it's just coincidence. You know what? You got to think a little bit more, guys. The chances of this is just so rare. It's just not going to happen, is it? I'll leave you with it, guys. I'll mention the link. Very few people support the channel. It's down there if you want to, and I'll say what I usually do. You take care, enjoy yourselves, and bye for now.